Morning Anambra, your breakfast TV show, every weekday from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Glad to have you back. This time around, we are bringing to you a learning environment. You know, there is an environment conducive for everything we do virtually on air.
And there's also an environment that is not conducive for some other things we also do.
But for things to really thrive the way they should, we need conducive environment. Now, we would like to, the question could be, the environment we see today in our schools, is it what it should be? You know, what has really gone wrong, or where have we missed it? All right, in the studio we have Victor Agosiobo, who is the former chairman, Nigeria Union of Journalists, Anambra State. Mr. Victor, we're glad to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewer.
All right, we still have you, if you'll be aware, in the studio. You're welcome. Thank you. Now, let me come to you, Mr. Agosiobo. You know, I think you must school in the 80s or thereabouts, and you are seeing the kind of environment we have today when it comes to learning. How would you assess the environment of today with that of yesteryears?
Okay. I think we must be a little bit careful when we talk about environment. It is quite all-encompassing.
We're talking of learning environment here.
That's what I mean.
Oh.
Even the learning environment is quite encompassing, it's quite massive. Okay. In the sense that it may be very limiting to only talk of the physical environment, which ordinarily you can call the classrooms. Okay. But there are all the psychological kind of environment. For example, the nature of the school can be an environment unto itself. Is it a public school? Okay. Is it a private school? Do you get? The structure of the school is an environment that impacts on teaching and learning. Obviously, the type of teaching and learning you have in a military school is definitely different from what you will see in a seminary. Get the point? Yes, of course, the teachers, the qualifications they have is also part of the environment. I'm just trying to say that even the socioeconomic conditions within that area. For example, the ability to afford yourself the paraphernalia of learning and teaching also is part of the environment.
All right, let's begin. Let's begin with looking at the structures. And, you know, that time when I talked, we have good structures. And you must have a playground for your school to be, you know, marked good as a good school. So let's begin
away
from
from
there.
the playground. Probably I feel there were much more of practicals in those days, unlike now. Maybe in people who study sciences.
All right, let's take a look at what we are seeing here.
Okay, this is a picture, of course, that shows the playing ground in a school. Probably when they're on break, you know, they could come catch fun. But let me ask you, how do we create a conducive learning environment? How do we create a conducive learning environment? Yes.
Okay. I think it starts with whoever initiated the idea of having that school, because we're looking at a school system now, isn't it? It has to start with the idea or the vision behind whoever is the initiator of the school. What's her vision? What is vision? What does he or she wants to achieve? Okay, because I tend to see these things as when the intention is to make money at the expense of the children's life, then anything can happen. So it has to be.
I think we have to get back to Victor. Victor, there's something in your mind that you really want to let us know when it comes to learning environment. What you were saying earlier before.
I tried first to generalize it, then probably I'll zero to what the picture speaks about. Okay. You know, there is absolutely no doubt that there is a correlation, there is a relationship between the environment, the ambience of learning, and learning and teaching and understanding. If you have people jam-packed in a classroom, as if the community of monkeys, it becomes a problem learning. If you have an environment where people cannot, have recreation by way of sports, by way of games, then it is not complete. So we find scattered in our state and in our country some good schools, some very bad ones. If you are taught a whole lot of theory, like we did in our days, like you rightly pointed out, and you don't have a laboratory where sometimes you do effective learning, after memorizing and cramming a whole lot of things, you go to the laboratory and see these things and connect it with the theory, and that, sublimates down your head that you have learned. If you don't have that, there is a gap. There is also a gap in learning. So it is a holistic, rounded thing. While you are doing the theory, you are doing the practical, you are having recreation, you are having air, you are having a good ambience. That, that represents the totality of learning.
You actually just said, would you say, yes, education or learning or the learning environment of the yesteryears and what we have now, would you say right now we're really making an improvement?
The comparison must be a very careful one, because right now, as I talk to you, science and technology has also made learning a little bit easy for this generation. In my days, for you to find something, you go to a library, do some cataloging, balance somewhere and start docketing paragraphs before you get information. Today, with an Android, with a computer, somebody is somewhere, pressing buttons, and a whole lot of information is flowing. So the comparison, we must be careful. It is not just the physical environment. That was the point I was trying to make. Yes.
But when it comes to physical environment, because we've seen so many schools that you, as a parent, may not allow your child to go to. For instance, let's take a look at this. Can you actually
this is a school.
Say that or allow your child to be in such school?
Okay, you actually called it a school.
Yeah, it is. I mean, these are students.
And a teacher.
And the teacher is right on the board.
Okay.
So what do we say of this?
The environment isn't good. There's no doubt about that. But surprisingly, sometimes you can find a lot of learning happening in this kind of environment, especially when the students are lucky to have a bit of compensation of the bad environment with a very sound teacher. That's why I'm saying that it is a holistic thing. Plato taught his students under a tree, and they came out fine according to history. You know what I mean? So,
all right, Mrs. Obioko, what's your reaction to that picture we just watched?
Well, I wouldn't call that a school if you ask me.
Okay.
I wouldn't call that a school. Even lessons, if it doesn't fit in. I would say they may have a wonderful teacher, but that environment can cause more harm than good, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
Okay, so that brings me to my next question. What are the characteristics of a highly effective learning environment? What are the characteristics? Now, we actually saw a picture where you wouldn't call that a school. You wouldn't even call that a lesson either. So what are the things to look out for a highly effective learning environment?
Okay. I'm seriously not into that, but let me give what I will look out for as a mother.
Your kids are in school, right?
Yeah.
Good.
I'll look out for one. What's the vision of whoever is the proprietor or the proprietress of that school? What's the vision? What's the idea behind coming up with a school? I like to think about that because it does affect the child. Secondly, I look at the teachers. Who are the teachers? Are they, people now with this private school everywhere, people can just employ one who sat older, who only has a credit pass in Igbo language and CRK to teach. In such case, I wouldn't want it. Okay, so I would look at what's the manpower, what's the teacher's, qualification, ability to teach as well. Ability to teach, because Somebody can even be qualified and not be able to impact. I've seen things like that. And then the way they look matters too to me. The way they look, their outlook to life. Then the response I get, let me give an example of what I mean by this. I have 3 kids, and my last child is my only daughter. She's on the plumpy side. So when we had a change in location, I decided to look for a school. When we got to the first school, somebody told me about it. It's a missionary school. When we got there, immediately we came into the school compound. The teachers, one of the teachers who saw us from the window, shouted, "Hey, Ibu, 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 Ibu." So, and the other teachers came out. No, they were referring to my daughter. The proprietress came out too, or the headmistress. She allowed me into the office. But with that particular reaction from the teachers, I made up my mind. I was just going into the office to fulfill all righteousness. My daughter, this environment is not conducive for her. Her esteem will be run down as far as I'm concerned. So after they took me and said, they may have a beautiful structure, but they don't have a qualified teacher as far as I'm concerned.
All right, let's now get to you, Axiobo, for want of time. You know, what do we look out for in a school and we say, this school is good? And what effect do you think a good environment will have on our students?
Okay, I align so much with what she has said. You look at the curricula. Curricula, what are they teaching? You look at the physical environment. You look at the environment of the teacher-student environment. Who is the teacher? What is he or she capable of impacting? Is there a way I can have effective knowledge of what the students are doing and the impact, like having the students talk, having the students interact? You can't hide some of these things. If you impact knowledge, it goes out there from the students and is understood. So these are the totality. I would also like a school that has recreation. Exactly. All work and no play does something I don't know to Jack or something. It's terrible. So you need to have recreation. Have to have good teachers. Have to show that it's a going concern.
Let's see who's here. Okay. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, you need to see a sense of a going concern, that we are not about to make money and then stop operating. You can see you can see a plan for the future. You know, you can see progress in the thinking and everything in the environment, all part of the complex environment.
Can this actually have on our children?
Definitely. Somebody once said that education is an ornament in society. It is a solace in solitude. It is a friend at home. What it simply means by all of that is that education radiates. You will have character, you will have knowledge, and in a decent society, you are bound to fit in very, very well.
All right, I think we have some callers. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Osaf. I'm calling from Oko.
You are?
Okafo, right?
Osaf, calling from
Osas, you're welcome.
Right,
go ahead.
Please, I want to thank you first of all, then make a little contribution related to the environment where we are learning in schools.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Now, I'm a student in Oko Federal Polytechnic here in Anambra. I'm studying the mass con. Let me start by the area of environment. On a serious note, here in Oko, where we are receiving lecture is very bad. Very, very bad. In the sense that we are up to 700 in class. Enter our classroom, I get the same primary school which equipment used while he was still a baby or child. That is why we are receiving lectures. We force ourselves to even stand, not to sit. I'm not talking about sit. If you mention sit, you are just wasting your time. We stand in receiving lectures. So I wonder how, at the end of the day, a teacher or lecturer will be expecting us to have A in our score or B, for instance. Now, coming to what our daddy said in regards of their days, they will go to school, go to library, and do research. Let me tell you, I have registered my library ID card since I entered this school. But to this day, now I'm talking to you right now, The HOD have not signed my library ID card, and I can't go to library to read for research. Just imagine. So how will I be able to do all those things? Then let me talk of that school which you people showed or displayed just a few minutes later. But that school is not private school. That school is government school. It's not private school. So if you are mentioning a proprietor or proprietor, it's just part of it. It's government school. Government, they are the one that hold this school. I don't even know what to say. What are they doing? How are they even managing such people?
All right.
Receiving lecture under rain and sun.
All right. Thank you very much, Osazo. Thank you for your contribution.
Osazo, we feel your pain.
Thank
we
you.
Feel your pain.
I earlier asked this question: the effect, good learning environment could have on our children, and of course, the effect bad learning environment could have. Can we talk about the bad learning environment? What effect do you think it will have on our children, Mrs. Obiakwe, before we start rounding off?
All right. Like I was saying, it's going to affect their esteem. For me, there is something I call small-mindedness. It can make them, they can't see beyond that. If you go up in a particular environment and no moving, I always encourage my young people, move out. Don't remain static. Don't be one place So it can bring about such in their mindset, which will further affect them on the long term.
Hello, good morning. Thank God, you're welcome.
TV can't come on. My banner will a banner go on a big town for. I will never not go away, man. By a question of a banner go. And I'm doing government agency in a check standard of school. I'm not a fan of school, dear mama. Or if I can tell that.
All right, Gallery, thank God. Okay, go on, you're saying something.
Then it's going to affect their output. A child who goes to such school may not be interested in learning. When the sun comes, it's so hot. Like he was complaining, of his own school. You can't. I'm imagining not sitting down in class. What will I be? You get tired, and some people will start gisting at the back there.
There's something about 700.
You've lost. You can imagine that. I schooled at Ife. At Ife there, we are not up to 120 in a class. And still, I know many a times, if you come late and you have to stand, man, you've missed it.
Earlier you talked about squeezing in a class, while talking. What effect do you actually think this could have on the children learning effectively?
It will be anti-education. You went to school to be educated, to be free, to be emancipated. When you find yourself in that kind of condition, it starts having the opposite effect. You actually turn into a slave because you have been enjoying drudgery instead of enjoying freedom. Education comes with freedom. It comes with confidence. It comes with emancipation. It comes with character. So when you are subjected to all of this, then you probably must have spent 4 years celebrating slavery and drudgery, and that's too bad.
This is another
a lecture hall. This is a lecture hall. I think this is an example of what
I think I experienced this. I did experience this, yes, while in school, I think in my first year. But the question is, who is to be blamed? Like, because when we talk about this learning environment and, wanting to take your child to one of the best schools, to give them the best education and stuff, we also could talk about finances. So who is to be blamed? Where do we go from here? How do we get it right? So they tell us.
I think the government should start doing something about these things, because government, to a large extent, should be blamed. Some of these things are government schools, like the young man mentioned. Okay. Government has a serious work to do when it comes to things like this. That's one. I went to Ife, where I schooled. I don't think we had this child, but it's not that serious. And, I'm just 11 years old out of school, so I didn't experience all this. We had a big theater, amphitheater, for instance, but we could accommodate whatever lecture. Maybe it's a general course. We could sit down at least. So I think the government has something serious to do concerning this. Then people who are involved in school ownership, all these private, whatever, they also have a hand in it. They need to make sure they provide conducive learning environment, which is what I think they had in mind when they came in. Seeing what the government had done, maybe the government is not doing something serious. They came in to bring in something better, but some other people came in just to make money. And so they can use their parlor or their sitting room or whatever you call it, or their living room to start up a nursery school.
Way forward before we go.
Yeah, like she said, money, 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 money all the way. You are admitting people, so that you have enough IGR by way of school fees to run the school. Before you know it, you have 700 in a class. Whether we like it or not, there must be a way. If it is dividing the class, employing more lecturers to handle the class in beats, that may be a solution.
Yeah.
But somehow, just note that when you have that kind of number in class, it is not conducive for learning and teaching.
All right, we'd like to thank you so much. Mr. Victor Agosiobo, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Mrs. Ishiobiyoko, we so much appreciate your coming.
Thank you, Ma.
And our callers, please, we are sorry we can't pick more calls for want of time. This is where this Good Morning Anambra terminates. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Nonye Mokoye.
And I'm a very good. Many thanks for joining us.